Hello, everyone, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and welcome everybody to the review of Mortal Kombat 2, the sequel to the 2021 film entitled Mortal Kombat. And this is the fourth live action adaptation of the popular video games from the 90s. And in Mortal Kombat 2, the premise is the champions of Earthrealm, joined by Johnny Cage, are forced into battle against one another as they attempt to resist the rule of Shao Kahn, whose rise threatens the survival of Earthrealm and its defenders. Joining the cast in this sequel is Karl Urban as Johnny Cage, which was kind of a shock to me when that was announced a couple of years ago that he was going to be Johnny Cage. I was like, well, it's not that I don't like Karl Urban. It was just, you kind of want a martial artist in this role. But I'll get to Karl Urban in a second. But as far as Mortal Kombat 2, I make no bones about it. Huge Mortal Kombat fan, going all the way back to when the video games. I remember going to the arcade. Yes, young folks, arcades, going to play Mortal Kombat, and then graduating to the Sega Genesis and PlayStations and Xboxes. Yes, before all that, you had to go to the arcade, and I was a huge Mortal Kombat fan, like everybody else, because that was a very different game. It was violent. It was bloody. It was just different, man, from anything else that we got in a video game around that time. It's still to this day, honestly. I think it's still one of the most innovative games that there is around, and I know there are thousands, if not millions, of video games that you can play, but it's something about Mortal Kombat that appeals to everybody. I don't care race, I don't care age, I don't care nationality, I don't care. Mortal Kombat just touches everybody, and I was one of the millions and millions around the world that this source material touched. And so in 1995, when the original Mortal Kombat movie came out, just like everybody else, loved it. For the time, it was the bee's knees, man. It was an Academy Award worthy film around that time. But it was limited because of, number one, they decided to make it PG-13, and number two, the technology around that time. The special effects wasn't up to par around that time, but it was great for when it came out, that particular film. Annihilation, not so much. And so we fast forward to 2021 and we get this new version, and they promised it's going to be R-rated. And I was like, cool. Then the pandemic hit in 2020, and then the movie was released on HBO Max and in theaters at the same time. I think I chose to watch it at home. I think I watched it on Max. And unlike everybody else who couldn't stand that movie, I didn't have a problem with it. I can acknowledge the flaws in that movie, which it has plenty of. I can acknowledge it, but as far as a Mortal Kombat film, I wasn't 100% disappointed. I felt that the characters, there was some real good character work in that film. I thought it was pretty decent, but it needed to improve, especially if we were going to move forward and incorporate Johnny Cage in the sequel, which they teased at the end of that movie, and they promised in this film. Simon McQuoid, he comes back to direct this film. He directed the first one, and they brought in Jeremy Slater, who to write the film, who gave us The Umbrella Academy on Netflix, a show that I really enjoyed throughout its run. He also gave us Moon Knight on Disney Plus, the Marvel Studios or Marvel television show, which was mixed. It wasn't great, but it was what it was. And now they brought him in to write this film. And I thought this was pretty pretty smart to do, because if you just think of the Umbrella Academy with an ensemble cast, you have a lot of characters, a lot of story there. He's used to that. Writing on that show, creating that show. Well, he didn't create it, but doing a lot of writing on that show. He's used to multiple characters, and you had to flush out a lot of multiple characters in this movie. I will say this without a doubt, it's not even up for debate. This movie is leaps and bounds better than the first film. And I actually liked the first film, like I mentioned before. But this movie makes that first film look so bad in my eyes. If you hated the first film and watched this one, you probably will wonder, why didn't they just do this for the first film? This movie is that much of an improvement. Now, the movie has flaws. It's not perfect. It's not going to pop up on any award consideration at the end of the year. So you can take a breath in that regard. But as far as we're kind of unofficially kicking off the summer movie season at this point, this is a great jumping off point for the summer movie season. This is a true popcorn Twizzlers Coke movie. Sitting down and turning your brain off and enjoying the show. I had so much fun with Mortal Kombat 2. Let's go over the positives. I don't have too many negatives, to be honest with you, but let's go over the positives, because I do have a lot of those. First and foremost, they took this is how sequels are supposed to be done. Whenever they announce a sequel to a movie that had mixed reviews, was kind of diverse, you want that movie to improve. Improve on some of the mistakes or some of the things that people complain about. And more often than not, you don't get that. They just stay the course, and it's the law of diminishing returns. Now, when it comes to Mortal Kombat 2, they took everything that worked in the first film, and it wasn't many things that worked, but they took the things that did work in the first film and expound upon that. Exactly what a sequel is supposed to do. And on the flip side, they took the things that didn't necessarily work in the first film and just forgot about it, just swept it under the rug. Forget about it. Don't worry about that. You didn't see what you thought you saw. We're gonna move on from that. That's basically what this movie did, and I was in awe. It was like two different. I had to double check and make sure that this was the same director from the first film, because it was that vastly different. It was so much of an improvement. You can't believe that it was the sequel to that movie. You would think that this was a reboot, but it wasn't. It was a direct sequel to the first Mortal Kombat. Well, the Mortal Kombat from 2021. The addition of Johnny Cage. This was the big thing, with that tease at the end of the first film. Who's gonna play Johnny Cage? We get Karl Urban, the great Karl Urban, who is tearing it up. If you're not watching The Boys, their final season on Prime, oh my God, you're missing. You are missing. This is probably their best season, and the fact that it's the last season, it brings a tear to my eye. But Karl Urban, along with everybody else on that show, but Karl Urban is killing it this season, and he killed it here. The way they incorporated Johnny Cage into this story, into this film, was genius. Absolute genius. Karl Urban is not a martial artist. He is not. They have Johnny Cage as an aging action movie star. And they leaned into it. I mean, full fledged, just went all into that. That's why we're not seeing a lot of him with the action and the kicking and the fighting and all this here, because he's an aging movie star. He's an actor, and he's not a real. Well, he is a real martial artist the way they set him up in the film, but he's older now. He doesn't have that fire anymore. But perfect use of Karl Urban. Karl Urban, he is unexpectedly funny throughout. I knew he would have funny moments in the movie, because it's Johnny Cage. I knew he was going to have his moments. I didn't expect him to be funny all the way through, but not awkwardly funny, not annoyingly funny, to the point where like, oh my God, this is not landing. Now, did all the jokes land? No, but it fit the mood of the scenes and stuff like that. It was well written, and I think, well, let me take that back. It wasn't perfectly written. We'll get to that later. But Karl Urban, he turned crap into a salad, and because he's Karl Urban. Now, he's the movie star of this movie, but the main character of this movie is Katana. Katana's story is who we truly follow in this film. And Adeline Rudolph, who plays Katana here, awesome job as that character. I love that story. They flushed out that story, her character, so well throughout this film. I didn't expect it going in. I thought this was going to be a Johnny Cage movie, but it wasn't. It was a Katana movie, and I'm not mad at it. It was really, really good. Shao Kahn, who is played by, I think his name, Martin Ford, I believe. And you look at him on screen, you're like, boy, they padded him up. They really CGI'd that fella. That is not CGI. That is him. He is really that big. That dude is humongous. I mean, he looks like a mountain. That is a large human being, and very intimidating. But aside from that, the look, the scale, and the design of that character, yes, it's intimidating, but the acting was even more intimidating. It's not just your typical big heavy villain. It is a villain that is motivated, a villain that is driven. And I loved him. And there's a lot of them in this film. It isn't just 2 or 3 scenes, he's in this movie a lot. And kudos on that note, because he could have easily hid behind his little minions, his little henchmen and all this other stuff. No, no, he was front and center in all of the fights. Speaking of the fights, once again, vast improvement from the first film. We finally get a tournament, and that's what Mortal Kombat is. At its core, it's a tournament. It's a fighting tournament game, and we've been waiting for this. Now, the very first one in 1985, yeah, it was a tournament, and then it went left. The 2021 film, no tournament at all, and that was a major complaint about the film. Well, not this go around. We get the tournament, and it starts with the tournament. Literally, the very first scene, we're a part of this tournament, and it doesn't let up throughout the film. All of the fight scenes are awesome, but there's one in particular. I'm not going to spoil it, because even if I say who's in the fight scene, it's going to spoil some elements of the story. So I can't even do that. All I'm going to say, well, I can say one of them, and it's Liu Kang. Liu Kang fight in his tournament fight was probably the best Mortal Kombat fight I've ever seen on film. Now, I know that's not a tall hurdle to jump over, but I don't see any other fight matching that. Getting close to that fight. Oh my God, because not only was it just fist to cuffs, it had emotion behind it. It told a story within that fight, between every punch, there was a story. Between every kick, there was a story. Oh my God, that was an awesome scene. Awesome scene. Uh, yeah, the fighting here was top notch. And with the exception of a few moments, like towards the middle of the film, the movie moves pretty fast. It doesn't drag, except for maybe a couple of moments, a scene or two where you felt like, okay, let's get back to the fighting, because like I said, the action was all throughout. The tournament lasted throughout the film. One fight starts, and once that one ends, another fight starts. I mean, it was back to back to back. But then I guess they felt like, wait, this movie is going to be way too short. We got to pause it here. And it was a moment, maybe for about 15 minutes in the movie, where there was no tournament fighting. Everybody went on side quests. I was like, how you going on side quests and you got this tournament going on? But that's we'll get into that in the negative section in a second. But for the most part, it moved pretty fast. The movie wasn't long. It didn't get bored. It wasn't boring. Those moments weren't boring. Those little side quests. It just kind of threw off the flow a little bit. But since I'm tiptoeing into the negatives, let's just jump all the way into it. My negatives of the film, like I said, those moments in the middle of the movie where we stop with the tournament for no logical reason whatsoever. And we just stop because the tournament is not determined by any rhyme or reason. It just starts back up, once that first round ends. So it didn't make sense. Which brings me to the plot holes. There are so many plot holes in this movie. Things that just happen for no reason, and things that just stop happening for no reason. It was all over the place. It was all over the place. Now, the core story that's being told, fine. They stayed on point with that. They were laser focused on our main plot point. But aside from that, it was characters just pop up out of the blue. They doing things that were established, like in the first film, that they couldn't do. Now they can do. It just blew my mind. it was blowing my mind when I saw that. Now, with that being said, did it take me out of the movie? No, it didn't. It didn't take me out of it. I was expecting that. I really was expecting that because the first film did that, and I didn't have a problem with it in the first film. So why would I have a problem with it in this one? The writing, even though the writing was improved upon, it's still, bruh. Some of the dialogue was a little like, okay, we get the point. It was a joke that ran throughout the film. It worked the first time. We didn't have to keep doing it. I think it was done like 3 times, and it involves Johnny Cage. We didn't have to keep doing it. It was the same joke. It was okay. You got it the first time. It was, anyways. It was bad decision to keep running that through out the film. And my final negative is that I celebrated Karl Urban's performance as Johnny Cage, and Adeline Rudolph as Katana, Martin Ford as Shao Kahn, and you had a couple of other performances that were pretty good as well. But the characters that we followed in the first film, one in particular, once again, not going to spoil it. No, I'm gonna. It's really not a spoiler. So yeah, Cole Young, which is a character that nobody liked, because he wasn't a part of the game. They made him up for that movie, and he was the main character. I didn't understand it, but I went with it. They had their reasons. They centered that whole movie in 2021 on Cole Young, his character. We followed him from when he got into not in the tournament because that didn't start, but when Raiden found him and made him one of the defenders and all this here and his training and him defending his family and fighting for his family and embracing his power and all that towards the end. Cool, we followed the character. Whether you liked him or not, we invested time in this character. We get to the sequel, which picks up directly after the first film. And Cole Young is in what, 2 scenes in this movie? It made no sense. Look, and he isn't the only one. A lot of the characters suffer. Sonya Blade, she had nothing to do. Jax, he was just in it just because he survived the first one. And that's basically what this was. The supporting characters in this movie that was in the first movie only appeared in this movie because they survived the first one. That was it. There was no other reason to have those characters in here. It was a waste of time, and they really suffered. There was zero development of those characters. They didn't do anything different. Sonya Blade did the exact same thing she did in the first movie. I guess that's a spoiler, but it's really not. She didn't do anything different from what she did in the first film, just in less time. That was it. She wasn't in as many scenes as she was in the first film. But yeah, man, they suffered mightily, especially Cole Young. And Louis Tan, I like Louis Tan. I think he's a good actor, and definitely an awesome martial artist. If you watch Wu Assassins on Netflix that he was on, I think he was on Cobra Kai for a couple of episodes as well. He's awesome, man. Nothing. He did nothing in this movie. With all that being said, I deeply enjoyed Mortal Kombat 2. I think it's probably, you take nostalgia out of the equation, it's the best Mortal Kombat film we have gotten. But if I'm going to account for nostalgia, it still doesn't topple the 1995 because that's just a classic. That's something special about that movie. But either way, it's definitely 1 or 2, and that's not saying much. There's only 4 of these movies that exist. So I did enjoy it. I think it's a perfect popcorn theatrical film. It's definitely something to go see in the theater. I normally incorporate the first thought that I have walking out of the theater into my review, and I'm going to reveal what that thought was right now. This was my first thought when I walked out the theater. I want to see this again. It's not that, I would go see this again. No, I'm going to go see this again. Without a doubt. This was so much fun in the theater. Enjoyed it immensely. It is bloody, gory, action-packed. It's like a 90s film turned up to 11. And I'm not mad at it. I give Mortal Kombat 2 a letter grade of a B-. Yeah, it was really good. A super, super duper improvement from its predecessor. I would like to know, what did you think of Mortal Kombat 2? Did you like it? Did you love it? Are you looking forward to part 3? Because it was announced that a 3rd film is in development. We'll see when that comes out. But I want to know your thoughts. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. Hit me up on social media. Just search for the KB Radio Network on all social media platforms. Don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel on YouTube and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of Mortal Kombat 2. Get over here. Want you all to know that I love you. Continue to love everyone. And until we speak again, you all be blessed and finish him.